So, our hero Rever had slain his enemy in Iceland and proven his astonishing skill as a craftsman, building the finest ship ever seen in that land. He had sailed away from Iceland with a crew of loyal men and travelled west to Greenland. When Rever and his crew arrived, they sailed in between two glaciers and up a fjord where they found a pleasant green forest filled with animals to hunt, good fishing and lots of timber. They lived here for a while. They built a hall and a boat shed to store their ship from Iceland. They then built themselves a smaller ship and sailed further around the coast to search for the western settlements. When they arrived, they went to a farm named Hlid, owned by a man named Bjorn. Bjorn had one daughter named Helga. She was intelligent and highly skilled, considered to be one of the best women in Greenland. Bjorn had heard of Rever's skill as a craftsman. He asked would he help him work on his farm. Rever of course agreed, and the first thing he did was he built a magnificent house for Bjorn and Helga to live inside. He soon asked for Helga's hand in marriage, and both Bjorn and Helga eagerly agreed. Bjorn soon died, so Rever and Helga took over the running of the farm together, and they became very wealthy very quickly. They had 3 sons named Stein, Bjorn and Thormod, named after their grandfathers and Helga's foster father. Together they lived a happy life for 8 years. Rever became famous. He built all sorts of famous fine buildings across Greenland. He then built himself a shed at the far end of his land where he began building himself a brand new ship. He worked on his new ship all day and would leave the shed at night walking home unarmed. But one evening when he left his boat shed, he realised he was not alone, because a huge creature had emerged from the snow. It was a Hvítabjörn, a polar bear. It had followed his footprints to the boat shed, and when it saw him, it charged towards him. Rever was eager to fight the bear, but he had no weapon to fight with. He calmly and quickly returned to the boat shed and grabbed one of his tools to ready himself for a fight with the bear. However, when he came out the shed, the bear was already dead. It had just been slain by his neighbour's sons who had come to shore after a fishing trip. Rever was disappointed, but satisfied the bear had been dealt with, so he returned home. Now Rever's neighbour was a man named Thorgils the Baldy, for understandable reasons. He owned a farm named Vik. He was a villainous, slanderous and cunning man. Everyone avoided him due to his ill nature. He had 4 sons, Thengil, Orm, Ger and Thorstein. They were the men who'd unexpectedly slain the polar bear. He also had a daughter named Olaf, and her husband Gunnar also lived with them. When the sons returned from their fishing trip, he asked them how their trip had gone, and they said, "Pretty good. We didn't catch a single fish. We did catch a polar bear, however." Thorgils was very proud of his sons. Such a bear was valuable, and slaying it was a very, very brave action indeed. And they said, "We probably wouldn't have got the bear if our neighbour, Rever the Timid, hadn't just revealed his lack of manliness. We saw his footprints leading away from the bear to his shed, proving that he ran away like a frightened child. I don't think a fainter heart has come to Greenland than the one that beats in his chest. He'd clearly wet himself with terror. His footprints were full of urine." Thorgils listened to these lies and thought deeply about them. He said, "Greenland will always have to blush when it hears Rever named. I've heard rumours that back in Iceland he would dress as a woman every 9th night, and some say he preferred the company of men to women. Talk of this odd behaviour went round constantly. Let our family have nothing more to do with Rever the Unmanly." Thorgils' sons repeated these slanderous lies about Rever to everyone they met, and even added new lies to the tales. They claimed that Rever's own family exiled him from Iceland because he was such an embarrassment, and he was now forbidden to return. This gossip became known to everyone in Greenland. It wasn't long before Rever found out too. However, he continued to behave calmly, as if nothing had been said about him. He worked on his ship. He quietly sold his land, slaughtered his livestock, and bought large amounts of rare goods, walrus tusks, walrus hide ropes and animal pelts. He gathered his wealth and made plans to leave. One day a friend approached him about these vile rumours. He said, I think you're a good and capable man, but you must do something about these rumours. By not confronting your enemies, you're making it seem as if you're confirming their tales about you. You must punish them, Rever. Rever calmly replied, a man should have his plans worked out before he enters into great undertakings. He then finished preparing his ship, and he set about forging a huge new spear, designed for both thrusting and chopping. It had a short handle and was razor sharp. He knew it would be foolish to fight Thorgils and his sons all at once. He knew they would surely defeat him, so he patiently waited until a dark and cloudy day arrived, when Thorgil's sons had left their father to go fishing. Then he knew that it was time to enact his plan. Rever entered his neighbour's smoky kitchen where he was cooking food. Rever announced his presence behind a thick cloud of smoke which filled the room. He demanded compensation for the slanderous lies they told about him. Thorgils replied, I won't deny we've said these things about you, but none of those words were lies. I believe every word spoken about you is true, Rever in Argi. Rever then revealed his newly forged spear, chopped Thorgil's shoulder, splitting him down to his chest. He then left Thorgil's body and went outside to the shore, waiting for nightfall. When the moon's shirt grew dark and clouds obscured the ornaments of the heavens, Rever cloaked himself in shadows. Thorgil's sons returned. One walked into the dark shed. Rever waited in darkness and sliced the man's head off with his chopping spear. The second brother entered carrying his oars, and Rever thrust the spear through the man's chest. With his dying breath, he shrieked out to his brothers, saying, Run, for Rever has come to repay us for our cruel lies. Our clever foe hides in the shadows. The brothers rowed further along the shore. They thought they'd found a safe place to hide. They were wrong. Rever found them. He stalked them silently along the frozen shore on this night without stars. He silently leapt from the shadows and slew both of them with speed. Rever then immediately returned home and ordered his family and his men to load all their supplies and their wealth onto his newly finished ship. He gave gifts to his men, and at sunrise, Rever, his family, and all his loyal followers, they left Greenland for the sea. Rever had decided that they must leave their home in case there were folk in Greenland who may seek to punish him for the slaying of Thorgils and his sons. He was wise to escape so quickly because powerful men began to plot his doom.